There are dreamers who were brought to this country illegally as children. You said once back in 2017, they, quote, shouldn't be very worried about being deported. Should they be worried now?
The dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the dreamers because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now. They don't even speak the language of their country, and yes, we're going to do something about the dreamers.
What does that mean? What are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan, and if we can come up with a plan, but the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything. Republicans are very open to the dreamers. The dreamers, we're talking many years ago, they were brought into this country, many years ago. Some of them are no longer young people, and in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases, they might have large businesses. And we're going to have to do something with them. And
you want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying.
I do.
Okay.
I want to be able to work something out. And it should have been able to be worked out over the last 3 or 4 years. And it never got worked out. You know, Biden could have done it because he controlled, Congress to a certain extent, right? He could have done something, but they didn't do it. I never understood why, because they always seem to want to do it. But then when it comes down to it, they don't. I think we can work with the Democrats and work something out.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I was just talking with Alfredo Ortiz about the large number of Hispanics who voted for President-elect Trump, and you just now heard why. They expect him to prioritize the people he wants deported, starting with those who've already been convicted, have deportation orders, but are still floating around the country, and then those who have been convicted of serious crimes either here or in their host countries and are floating around. And he wants to do a deal with the so-called dreamers. Now, as I was saying to Alfredo, there's a front page article in this morning's LA Times. By the way, I'm noticing a shift in some of the coverage of the LA Times. Finding a lot more articles that aren't not quite as far left. The owner, as you know, squashed a editorial that was about ready to go out before the election supporting the election of Kamala Harris. He put the kibosh on that. The head of the editorial page quit, good riddance, and he said that the paper is out of touch. And we talked about how out of touch it is. Every single county in California, and there are 58 counties, I know, because I ran for governor, every single county voted for Proposition 36, which elevated a bunch of classes of crime from misdemeanors back to felonies, essentially gutting Proposition 47 that lowered a bunch of categories of crime from felonies to misdemeanors, including stealing up to $950, not per day, but per store. And because we have cashless bail in California, you commit a misdemeanor, you're written a ticket, you have 0 chances of going to jail. As a result, crime went up. Homelessness got worse because no longer doing meth on the street gave you an option of going to jail as a felon or going to rehab. No longer were you a felon. You were now committed a misdemeanor, and they could not force you to go to rehab. So the homeless problem got even worse. LA Times editorialized against Proposition 36. Gavin Newsom publicly stated his opposition to Proposition 36. Kamala Harris wouldn't say how she voted on it one way or the other, which tells you she voted in favor of it. And it passed, as I said, in every single county in the state, passed by 40 points. LA Times completely, totally misread the mood of the city and the mood of the state. The LA Times voted for the re-election of George Gascon, the soft-on-crime LA County DA, who got his first job because Gavin Newsom appointed him DA of San Francisco. He co-wrote Proposition 47, the aforementioned Proposition 47, and then became the DA of LA County, survived 2 recall attempts, and lost his bid for re-election by 30 points. The article this morning is called "A Political Shift in Mexican Beverly Hills. Downey, like other largely Latino cities in southeast LA County, saw a big tilt toward GOP nominee." That would be President Trump. And talks about how many of them aren't telling their friends and family members that they voted for Donald Trump. Quote, there's a stigma, said Philip, a 38-year-old construction contractor, who asked to not use his last name for that very reason. His wife said some tension in her Democratic family. Her father, who gets his news from Univision, voted for Harris. And she's frustrated by family members struggling to gain citizenship while newly arrived asylum seekers were housed, end of quote. And about how people in this city, this affluent city of Downey, are cheesed off about the way these illegal aliens have been treated compared to the way their parents and grandparents were treated. Thanks for watching these clips from The Larry Elder Show. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment. More thought-provoking discussions are just a click away, so stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.